One of the most costly mistakes I see entrepreneurs make every single day is that they are very poor when it comes to decision making. And there's two sides of this. One is that they don't know how to make a good decision, and two, they don't know what decisions actually require their attention. So I'm going to be breaking down how to firstly make good decisions, and then secondly, how to actually figure out what things need your attention. So my name is Grandma Singh. I'm the founder of GTM Academy. I run GTM Academy. It's going to be transitioned towards Scaling Academy. It's a new name. And with this, one of the big things that we're going to be doing is that we are going to own portfolio companies. So we've got one portfolio company at the moment. We're incorporating the second portfolio company as we speak. And these companies, we're going to basically have a portfolio of different companies to manage. And with owning different companies, you have to make a lot of decisions. Alongside that, we just started one of our portfolio companies up last month, and we've got it from 0 to 10K within 30 days. And when you start a business, you'll know how many decisions you have to make. Colors, logo, branding, name, like domain name, even the offer, the ICP, the pricing, all these decisions, we made them within a matter of days, launched it, tested things out, what the sales call process is going to look like, what the funnels are going to look like, what automations are going to be, what the language is going to be. These are all decisions that you have to make when you start a business. And we managed to make all those decisions and then actually get people across the line, 10K worth of business within the first 30 days. Okay. So when it comes to actually understanding how to make decisions, I can absolutely help you out with that. Alongside that, I've been coaching entrepreneurs for about 4 years now, and every single week I speak to multiple entrepreneurs, some 7-figure entrepreneurs, and we break down what it is that they actually need to focus on to grow their business, and that is often a function of decision making. So when it comes to decision making, I'm very comfortable with it. It's something that I know like the back of my hand. So what I'm going to start off with is, how do you actually make better decisions? The first thing is that you have to accept, right? First thing is accept that you will not have all the information. You will not be able to make perfect decisions because this is not a perfect world and you're not given perfect information. You have to make decisions based on 80%. You have to ship ideas before they're ready. And a lot of the time, most entrepreneurs, when they get into it, they're like, oh, well, this is my business, this is my baby, it has to be perfect. Nope, you don't get to play that game. You're not allowed to play that game. You will not be successful playing that game. Trust me, it's not going to work. I'm just telling you as it is. You can't wait for things to be perfect to make a decision. You can't wait for a landing page to be 100% before you make a decision. And the truth is, the reason why it's never going to be 100% is because the market's actually the thing that's going to tell you whether or not something's good or bad. You might have these ideas. You might have this research. You might have a 1,000 pages of notes based off Alex Hormozi's content. But when it comes to actually seeing if this is applicable for you, when it comes to seeing if this is going to work for you, you can't apply everything and then test. You have to test a couple things early. You have to try something out, test it, see how it goes, okay? And that means shipping ideas before they're ready. So that's the first thing. You have to, if you want to become a better decision maker, get comfortable with the idea that you're not going to have all the information, okay? The second thing is that you have to get comfortable with the idea that not all your decisions are going to be the right decisions. But it's actually the person that makes the most decisions that's going to have the most experience when it comes to decision making, as long as they're constantly being aware of the decisions that they made and the impact that they had. Okay? Let's say over the course of a year, you make 10 decisions for your business and I make 100 decisions. At the end of the year, who's going to have a better understanding of what decisions actually have a big impact? Me, because I've made more decisions. Whereas you're moving at a tenth of the speed, and as a result, you can have less experience on what decisions are actually good or bad. You can have less experience on what decisions you should make in the future. So, firstly, right, you're never going to have all the information. Secondly, you're never going to be able to make all the right decisions. Stop trying to aim for perfection. Okay? Third, if this is part of your character trait, okay, if it's part of your character trait to want to be a perfectionist, most people that are perfectionists know that they're perfectionists, by the way, right? So if you're watching this thinking like, you know, I'm quite a perfectionist, that I try to get everything perfect the first time. If you know that this is one of your kind of traits, let me tell you, as an entrepreneur, it's not going to serve you as well when it comes to like managing a business. It might for product, it might for like delivery, okay? But it's not going to do it for the majority of things. It's not going to serve you in sales to be a perfectionist. Why? Because even the most perfect salespeople don't have 100% close rate. They have 40%, 50%, maybe 60 and 70%, okay? But no one has 100% close rate, yeah? No one does, okay? So when it comes to a lot of the times within business, there's going to be situations where it's not about getting everything perfect, Okay, it's about getting it done, and most of the time, it's about doing more volume. Okay, so when it comes to the decision making, okay, firstly, you're never gonna have all the information. Secondly, you're never gonna be able to make all the right decisions. Third, if you know this, do something about it. Have someone, if you can't hold yourself accountable, have someone that makes sure that you get decisions made ASAP. Okay? You need someone to be able to suffocate the BS that you keep telling yourself about why you're putting off decisions. You need someone to force your hand. You need someone to force you to make a decision. I can do that for myself a lot of the time now because I know, I know what decisions need to be made. I know when something's taken too long for a decision to be made. Okay. However, alongside that, I also have Adnan that I speak to every single morning and every single evening during the week. I also have a weekly review and a quarterly plan review where we go through decisions that are being made and whether or not enough decisions are being made. I also have a monthly board meeting with people that are further ahead than me in business so that they can call me out on my BS. So when it comes to decision making, there's no hiding. Most people want to hide from making decisions. Most people want to shy away from it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. Oh, what if I make the wrong decision? Then my parents are never going to love me. Get over it. Yeah, we're in business. If you want to be good at business, you want to make money, you have to accept that not every decision that you make is going to be perfect. It's part of the game. If you don't want to play, get out. Okay? That's part of the game, right? So that's my advice when it comes to actually making decisions. Yeah, like how do I become a better decision maker? Firstly, accept that you're never going to have all the right information. Secondly, accept that you're not going to be able to make perfect decisions every time. Thirdly, have someone to suffocate the BS when it comes to making decisions. Have someone that forces you to make a decision if you can't force yourself to make one. Okay? So, that's it. The second half of the video is going to be more focused around how do I figure out what things actually need my attention? What decisions actually need my focus? So I'm going to give you a generalist approach to start with because I think most business owners need this and they don't actually understand how to look at a business because their lens is warped based on what they see on social media. And then I'm going to give you more specific advice and examples based on how I actually structure my time when it comes to decision making. So I'll start off with the generalist approach. Okay. When it comes to growing a business, most of your decisions should be made based on how do I get a flow of customers from cold and not knowing who I am and not knowing what I do and not knowing how I can transform their life to singing the praises of my company. Okay? You can typically track how far through someone is through this process. Yeah? And what you'll do is you'll start to be able to see, like, let's say I've got 100 leads, that 100 leads that are completely cold. I'm working with these leads. I'm getting them to the point where, 50 of them register interest. Great. 25 of them book in a call with me. Great. 10 of them, hop on a sales call, but 0 of them close. Okay. So the thing that's stopping me from having loads of raving customers and repeat business is the fact that I can't close anyone. Okay. That's where my time needs to be. Most of the time, people, when it comes to like business, they're like, oh, well, I don't feel comfortable with my logo. Or in 2 years' time, I'm looking to hire, so I should really go on this hiring course. Or all these other things that just aren't the constraint of the business, okay? So we operate under something called the one constraint theory, which means that in a business, there's one constraint that, whilst there's lots of other things that might limit the growth of the business, there's one thing that limits it more than anything else. And if you fix that, the business will grow faster than fixing any other constraint. So what we try to do is, with all of our portfolio businesses and our main business, we're trying to figure out what's the one constraint that if we fix that, everything will grow much faster. Okay? And that in itself is a decision-making framework. What's the one thing that if we fixed, everything else would become much, much better? How would we make one change to increase the flow from our entire system? Okay? That might be, the decision might be, right, our constraint is that we're not getting enough people to convert on the landing page. We're getting lots of people on the landing page, but we're not getting people to follow through. So the decision that we're going to make is that we're going to start split testing different landing pages. Great. That's it. Yeah. So the decisions that you make should be based around increasing flow. So there's 2 things you can do to grow a business. You increase the number of customers or you increase what those customers are worth to you. Okay. There's a million ways that you could increase that, increase both of those. So there's loads of different ways you can increase the number of customers. There's loads of different ways that you can increase the value of customers. Yeah, you've got to figure out which one do I actually want to focus on? Which one of these do I want to take a bet on? Okay. Now I use something. So let's say I'm looking at this. I would then use something like I've got 5 different examples, 10 different things that I could do that I think are going to have the highest likelihood. I then use a Pew matrix and I use the ICE framework. Okay. So Pew matrix is just something that I can use to mark and measure like how good something is. And then I use the ICE framework, which is the impact, confidence, and ease. So I mark things against how big of an impact did this have on the business, how much confidence do I have that I can actually achieve this, and then what's the actual ease of use. So how easy would it be to actually accomplish this? And then I look at all the different options, I pick the thing with the highest score, and then I focus all of my attention on that one thing. I don't try and do 4 or 5 different things at the same time. I just pick one thing. I say, this is the most important thing. This is all we're going to do. That's it. Yeah. That's how we work. That's how I make decisions. Yeah. So when it comes to how entrepreneurs are making decisions, look at the flow of a business. Okay. Or look at the number of customers or the value of the customers that you've got and think, great, how would I want to increase this? Look at the different options that you've got. Apply a Pew matrix and the ICE framework to figure out which thing you should actually focus on your time and attention on. Okay. Now, one thing that kind of like supersedes or precedes, or I'm sure Adnan can tell me the correct term in the comments. The one thing that kind of determines what you should actually be looking for is what your goals are. Do you have financial goals? Do you have enterprise value related goals? Do you have personal goals, which is more focused around time? Whatever your goals are should be an indication of where your time should be spent in terms of what your decisions should be focused on. Okay. If my goal is that I want more free time in the business, but all my decision making ability is being spent on how I'm going to increase the value of each customer, I'm not going to get closer to my goals. And it's actually not worth even trying to figure it out, because let's say that even if you did manage to increase the value of your customers, if it meant that you actually have more workload at the end of it, what was the point of making that decision? You've actually just caused more problems, and now you have to probably go and make even more decisions to undo the decision that you just made because it wasn't in alignment with your goal. So if you want to make better decisions, figure out what your goals are, and then from your goals, then decide what are the decisions that need to be made to actually figure out how to get towards this goal. Okay? And then those are the decisions that most of the time should be focused on. Okay? Just a note here. Most of the time in business, if you're trying to make more money, the decisions that you need to make are not about colors, they're not about fonts, they're not about logos, they're not about style, they're usually about volume.